In this lesson I will talk about something I really like to do to give a twist to my logo design and to make people stop and think for a second. It helps them to appreciate the logo and remember the logo, because if you make someone smile or think for a second, they will remember the logo, and that's great for the brand. So these things are called, I call them Gestalt games. Gestalt is a psychology term from the start of the 20th century. It's a German term for it means unified whole. So it's about how our mind is organizing visual information. If we see a bunch of dots um, similar to each other, we create a group of them. If we see a pattern, how we organize the pattern for ourselves to understand, simplify and understand the word better. So this is helping us to understand the word better and perceive the word better. But as logo designers, we can use it to create interesting visual tricks and implement some metaphors, what I was talking about earlier. So for example, the first one is closure. If I show you the images, you will immediately understand what all this Gestalt stuff is about, because our brain is simply rigged the way that it's finishing the known shapes. If I ask you what letter is on the right side of the screen, you know it's a letter A. You see only the half of it, but your mind is just mirroring it because it's a familiar shape. You just finish it in your mind. You know it's a cut A. If you use this in logo design, it could work. People will recognize it. Or it's the same. We don't see the square and the triangle. There are no continuous lines, but the dark spheres are helping us to recognize the sphere, the square and the triangle, and our mind is continuing the line around the edges of the square and the triangle, and that's amazing how our mind is building this up for us. So you can use this also in a logo design. The other things are proximity, similarity, and continuity. Is something like the same, like I said with the closure. It's our mind is continuing a pattern, or putting similar things in a group. For example, on the figure on the left, you can easily see there is a group of objects shaping a square, but one is out of line. This is a great stuff. We use it a lot in illustration, that someone is standing out of the crowd, someone is going against. That's a great way to play with order and unorder. So proximity and similarity works. Proximity means that the distance between the objects. So if things are closer to each other, like in the heart shape or the key shape I used for logo designs earlier, you understand the small objects as well. But if you look at it from a distance, you see that they are shaping something different. I know it's not a simple in logo as a logo, because I always say, okay, you have to do a very simple logo, but it is certainly clever and it's drawing a simple shape. So from a distance it's a simple shape, from close up you see the little details, and this stops people and make them think for a second, and this gives them the aha moment I'm talking about, when they realize that it's a key but it's made from flowers. You get my point. So you should use this creating patterns of similar objects and using objects how close or how far are from each other to create some mind tricks and implement that in your logo design. And all these proximity, similarity, continuity, and closure, it's awesome. It's a really good stuff. But what is even better is negative space. I love negative space in logo design. I don't know how many logos I collected and how many I did myself. Almost every time I give a client a logo design, I present like 2-3 ideas. As I said, one of them is negative space, because it works so well. A lot of people don't know it, and they look at it and they're like, oh, what is this? Negative space is basically the foreground background illusion. You can look at this image and you see a chalice or a vase. This is called this experiment called Rubin vase. It's a chalice and two faces, two men facing each other. You can see the nose, the eyes, and the lips and the chin. And what is amazing about this, if you look at it, try to trick yourself. You know that it's two images, the chalice and the two faces, but still you can only see one. Your mind and your eyes are constantly jumping back and forth, back and forth. You cannot see everything in the same time. How we use it in logo design? This is some logos I created with negative space. One of my favorite award-winning logo is the one on the left, and that's for Bay Leaf Bistro, and Bay Leaf there is like a bay crown, and the fork for the restaurant, and that's a very simple solution. I created a fork and I didn't draw a fork, I'm just assuming. Or with the other logo design concept I made, safe hands, the two hands are forming a dollar sign, because this is like your money is in safe hands. This is for a company working with finance. There are a lot of different solutions you can make, and also for the crane company I made this. There is the crane hook and the ropes on the hook creating the negative space of the letter M. It works very well, and it's very simple, and it still gives the client that it's something there. Few tricks and tips about negative space. If you want to do a negative space logo, I definitely say go for it, but you have to take care that you cannot put any shape or any object into another object and say this is negative space logo. No, it's an object in an object. That's not working like that. I made up this logo for a company, let's say Atlantic, and Atlantic is like, let's say, for a, I don't know, company for shipping or something like this, or boating. And you can see that on the first example I was using a ship with a square sail. On the second I used a ship with this blown by the wind triangle like shape sails, and it works better. Why? Because that triangle is fitting better into the negative space, the triangle that's supposed to be there at the capital A. You know what I mean? Use the negative space what is already there. How I usually start with the negative space logo, I have the letter or the shape I would like to have, and I try to bend the other object I would like to have inside, like here this time the sails and the boat, and I try to bend it that is still recognizable, but it fits the negative space, the space it got, as much as I can. So I'm not bending the negative space of the letter, I'm bending the object in it, and or I try to find an object which is matching that space. I hope it is clear. You will see it if you do it yourself. Sometimes it feels forced. If it feels forced to yourself, then it probably is. Then your client won't like it and it won't work on people. Okay, let's go on something else. This is a great way to create metaphors. So just remember, do your games, be playful. That's why I call this exercise Gestalt games.